Hi, I'm so excited today to program this ESC for you. Thanks for tuning in today. We are going to cover the Copperhead tin, how to program it for your rock crawlers, and then we're going to go outside and test it out. You are likely familiar with the new release from Castle Creations, the Copperhead tin. It is pretty much like a SW4, a Sidewinder 4, with a sensor port addition on there. It does actually come with a fan, which I have taken off. It also comes with your sensor port adapter, which I have also taken off because in this video we're going to be doing a sensorless test. And what I would recommend if you're going to be using this for any sensored motors is that you pick up one of our Castle style sensor wires. They also offer them from Castle Creations as well at this point, but this gets rid of the extra adapter cable for a normal sensor harness. The reason why we offered these years ago is because there's a lot of problems with these little guys. And it's not so much that there's a bad design to it, but because you have a plug that goes into your ESC, and then you have a plug that goes into your sensor wire, and then you have a plug that goes into your motor. So there's an extra plug in there, and the plugs are usually where the failure and the contamination is. So if you get rid of the adapter and use one of the direct options, the Mamba X style of sensor wire, then it plugs directly into your board and you don't have to worry about that extra connection getting fouled. Now, when you want to put that in, I will just go ahead and show you how it works on this. I'll move that guy out of the way a little bit. First, you will need to take the case off, and to do that, you spread the corners of your Copperhead tin case. And you got to push on essentially like the power wires and the plugs because there's really not many places to hold it, or you can hold the case right here as you pry. You will need to take this off to get out the old wires. And that last one's always a bugger. There we go. So we pull this off, we pull out our cable that has the on-off switch in our RX wire. Then we actually push it back on, just like so. Almost like so. Close to so. Whoever does these at Castle, oh, bless you. Whoever job this is, it's not the easiest task to get this back on. Also, kudos to the engineers and the injection molding guys between getting fantastic tolerances on this case and being able to design a plastic case in itself is actually a really hard task. So the sensor wire goes further back on the ESC, and the little white indication is on the, let's see, it's on the negative side. And it even shows you on this case, it even shows you how things are orientated. So first we put in our sensor wire in the back side. You kind of have to give it a little bit of an angle to get it to slide in. Just like so. And I like to make sure they're seated with a little tool. Be sure you don't screw up your wires when you're doing it. There we go, all the way down. And then second, you put in your on-off switch and RX cable, and this goes in front. There's a little tab that you kind of got to get around, and that tab bends out of the way and then has a hasp, I believe it'd be called, a little tab that kind of holds everything in. So we got to work past that, press her in, and then, and no, and then. Well, I did it earlier without problems, but of course on camera it's going to be difficult. It's like doing that hard line when you're in a competition and you're on the clock, and then as soon as you get off the clock you go back to it and you just walk that line. That's you know, that's how life works sometimes. So we're just going to keep wiggling. There we go. Just had to get that tab kind of bent out of the way. We push it in past that. Now they are both securely held into place and you don't have that extra plug. The other thing that I did to the personal unit that I will be using is I soldered the on-off switch together. I just cut the wires right there, soldered it together. That will make sure that you don't have a problem with the switch failing, and when you plug in your rig, it is turned on. A good way to drain your batteries by accident is to forget that your rig is plugged in. And yeah, so that is all my preference though. I don't like the on-off switches. Not only point of failure, but a good way to break some parts or drain your battery. And on top of that, you also got to mount it somewhere in a crawler. There usually isn't a spot to mount. So the first thing that I will do on this is we will go through the programming routine. plug it up to your Castle Link. You got to have the latest Castle Link because this is a new ESC. Your Castle Link will show green on there, and then on the actual software it'll show green as well. And then bam, we've got the splash screen showing us the Copperhead 10. And we're just going to run through. All right, about tab doesn't matter. Basic tab, auto LiPo cutoff, 3.2 volts per cell. I'm going to bump that up to 3.5 because we're in a crawler. And in a crawler, you have a low load situation, which means that there is a low voltage drop inside your battery. When you get to 3.3 volts, 3.2 volts per cell, your battery cells are actually going to be out of whack because they start to dump at about 3.5 under low load. If you got an hour of runtime, that's only a 1C discharge from your pack. A 2200 pack, that means 2.2 amps on average. If you're only pulling 2 amps, your batteries aren't going to be dropping very much. So, as a little bit of warning to you, I would suggest that you bump that up to 3.5 volts per cell. That way you will, maybe you'll be losing like 5 to 8% of your runtime in a crawler, but you will be grabbing it before your cells dump completely. And that way you're not going to have one cell that dumps a little bit before the other ones, and you'll end up ruining your pack over time. So it's better to be slightly on the safer side in a crawler, and you're never really going to have an issue where it glitches when you give a hard pull because the load just isn't that big. If you're running into issues with like a 2-speed rig, a heavier rig, if you're rock racing, you bump that down. If you're actually racing, you definitely want to bump that down because the last thing you want is an accidental like, my pack was near dumping and didn't quite dump under high load. Anyway, let's move on. 3.5 volts per cell is what I recommend. Reverse type, we want a crawler. Hey, crawler reverse, it's called crawler reverse now. That is awesome. BEC voltage, I am running a direct power servo, so it really doesn't matter. 7.5 volts, I'm just gonna bump it to 7.5 because I know the radio will take it. Idle and error beeps, we are going to disable all of those. We don't want, let's see, disable idle beeps, disable error, yes. Disable error, disable data log full warning, yes. All right, brake amount, we're in a crawler, so 100%. Drag brake, we are in a crawler, so 100% full crawler. Now, back in the day, they had 200% crawler drag brake, and I have noticed that some other companies are saying that their drag brake is twice as strong because it has 200% drag available. That's a lot of BS, but we're just going to move on from that. 100% drag brake as strong as it needs to be, and if yeah, I'll just stop there. All right, drag brake ramp. It is great that they still have this feature on there. I know that I like a fast or a very fast ramp, so I'm going to set it at fast. If you have a heavier rig, you probably want a little slower ramp. If you have a lighter rig, you can get away with a faster ramp and it won't do an endo on you. But, fast. I know I like fast, so we're just going to start there. All right, power tab. Let's go to the next one. Start power. We are in a crawler, so we want high. Max power, we want full speed. Max reverse percentage, I want full speed. Punch control, I always suggest at least 30% punch control. It will keep you from having problems with weird brownouts and stutters, especially with a sensorless system. If I punch it and the system can ask for enough amperage, which this is a 2500 revolver, it will ask for amperage. If you have punch control, it will at least not brown out on you. It's just a good idea. 30% punch control across the board, call it good. If you wanted to be fancy and maybe eke out a little bit better low speed control, we would use the torque limit function on here. You take the pinion off, you do the test, it runs you through it. I don't need to do that on these. Not gonna do it today at least. All right, advanced tab. Arming time, 1.5 seconds, that's fine. Live link enabled. Disabled is what I want because I'm not using it. Throttle deadband, 0.1 milliseconds. That is a good average. Hey, it says average on there. That is a good average for pretty much any radio. But if you're having issues with your radio arming, especially with really cheap radios and ready-to-run radios, you can open that up to either average, the next larger average, or large, or the other large, and that will help you a lot. It'll give you a little bit more pull before you actually get into the throttle, but on cheap radios, there's a lot of drift on that potentiometer. So unless you want to, or unless you don't want to chase the neutral point so that you can continuously arm over a long period of time, average throttle deadband is just fine. But on ready to run, you may want to open that back up. All right, motor type, motor direction, normal. It doesn't matter on this because it's going to be a sensorless, so I can just reverse two wires. We got 3 wires, we just reverse 2 of them, however that works, and we can reverse it that way. If this was a censored brushless system, we would need to reverse it in software, or flip our tranny, or build our tranny mirrored, or whatever. There's a million ways to reverse a crawler. Okay, there's not a million, there's 4, but you get my drift. Motor type, Smart Sense brushless. I recommend, if you're using brushless on a Castle system, to always use Smart Sense. If your sensors fail, it will automatically go to sensorless mode, and if it sees sensors, it will automatically use sensors. If you do sensored only, then what may happen... So sensored only, some people like. I personally dislike it because your timing of your sensors is really critical for sensored only mode. With a crawler, we really only need sensors for startup with a sensored motor, and so we still want to use the Smart Sense brushless choice there. And that way it's just generally great across the board. We don't have to worry about timing issues at high throttle, especially with 4-pole motors. It can present issues in sensored only mode. So Smart Sense brushless mode is what we want. Motor timing, we are in a crawler, so typically I would go with lowest timing. However, this is a really fast revolver, 2500 kV. So I'm going to keep this one on normal. Let me know in the comments if you have played around and noticed either any temperature differences, performance differences, or startup differences with the motor timing. On this one, I'm going to keep it on normal. If this was a 4-pole, I would do lowest on there, 0 timing, and yeah, it is what it is. Motor temperature cutoff, disabled. We don't have an RTD in this motor. We don't have an RTD in our sensored motors that we offer, so disabled is just fine. Data logging. Let's see. I personally don't care about any of it, so I am going to not log anything. It is, oh, we have to log something, huh? All right, let's just do motor RPM. Fine. I would like to mention, it seems like the data logging on this is a little bit less information than what you get on the Mamba X. I would need to plug one in and compare to see, but it looks like it's a little bit less on the features. But voltage, ripple, controller temperature, motor RPM, motor temperature, I really wouldn't need more than that. That's all we need. Okay, it doesn't have amperage on there. So, c'est la vie. I like to know amperage, but we could actually work backwards from the voltage and figure out the amperage, but that's probably a topic for another day. All right, logging duration. Since I'm not really logging, it doesn't matter on that. But if you did 5 samples a second, it's going to give you less rich information than 1 sample a second, but you would also be able to log for 5 times longer. Take that for what it is. I would say a 1 second sample time is going to be better if you're actually wanting to log what's going on. But I'm not logging, so it really doesn't matter. And I mean, there's still 5 hours of logging if I'm only doing one thing, but I'm probably going to want battery voltage, battery ripple, and maybe motor RPM, so we can kind of extrapolate the load. And that tells me 3 hours and 35 minutes at 1 sample per second frequency. That's a lot of time. That's awesome. So kudos to Castle, lots of memory inside. The next thing, throttle curve. I have talked about this before, and to get the best low speed control and RPM on these Castle controllers, I like to pull this logarithmic curve down to 70% and 20% to 30%. So this is the difference between 20% and 30%. As you can see, a nice gentle curve at that low end. And I'm gonna pull this one down to 20% on our throttle input, and then, 70% throttle input will only be giving us 20% of our motor speed. So it's a pretty harsh ramp, but that is what I like. Now we're gonna do the exact same thing to the brake curve, and that is going to give us a nice buttery reverse throttle. So there we go. Software, there's no updates available yet. Save and print. If you want to save these settings, that is where you would do it. Save your current settings to file. This little guy right here. I pretty much know what I want, so I'm not going to do that. Update. We hope and pray. Writing the program settings. Boom! Update complete. There we go. Now we are ready to crawl, so without further ado, we are going to go outside and see how this guy performs. We are outside ready to test the Copperhead 10. We got all the programming done inside as you saw, and now it is time to plug it in and test. I'm using a 3-cell LiPo, 2200 or something like that. 1, 2, 3. There we go. I would like to note that I had to move my channel 2 throttle trim up to like a 60. Let's see, I'll go backwards. Yeah, about 60 for it to arm. If you reverse your throttle channel, that may actually help. But right now, green is go, so we're all good. And we're just gonna go. As you can see, I got a fantastic wiring job on this because I totally don't switch out an ESC every time that I use this vehicle. I totally do. And as you can probably tell from the audio, this is the standard Castle extra powerful noise. It's, you can hear the power. You can literally hear the power in this system. And you can also hear the loading. Nice and smooth. You know what, before I get into these rocks too much, let's do a quick pass, show you the wheel speed that we're working with. You know, we've got this much low speed control, all the drag brake that we need. It was barely rolling. This is also a snub nose revolver, so it's very small. But let's get back and show you some full speed. So that is really as much speed as we need. Oh, old battery. Don't tell me this is an old battery. I know I charged it, but you know, it'll work fine for crawling, but full speed, it looks like our battery is actually cutting out. That's my fault for using a battery that's 6 years plus old. Oh well, we'll just crawl with it today, and I'll have to get some new fresh batteries, I guess. We hear the power. So far, there's absolutely no surprises. This is a Castle system. It has the Castle noise. It has all the low speed control we could want for a sensorless system, for sure. And all the programming features that we would want as well. Definitely has the active drag brake, on throttle drag, active freewheeling, whatever you want to call it. They don't even include that in their feature list, I don't think, anymore. I think it's pretty much assumed that every ESC is going to have that these days. Well, most of them at least. Ah, yes. I can hear the power. She's a little noisy. Oh, almost had it. Just need a little wheel speed bump. Maybe a little more than that. Maybe a little less than that. There we are. Oh no, high centered. There we go. Yeah, so no surprises. If I had been told this was a Sidewinder 4, I would believe you. If you had told me this was a Mamba X, I would believe you. Which is, that's a good thing. We know how those perform. No surprises. So I don't think I will subject you to much more of hearing the power. Whee! But as you can see, just as smooth and tractable as can be. Yes, sir. So if you're looking for an ESC that is lower cost than the Mamba X, and you don't need that auxiliary wire, then I reckon this is going to be the ESC for you. As I said in the previous video, it is about 30 grams lighter, so for the average crawler, that's going to be great. I never use the auxiliary wire. It's just not something that's for me. I don't really care about it. What I do is I just use my drag brake when I need it. We use the throttle ramp when we need it, and call it good. But people who like to, fiddle with an extra switch, it's awfully fun to fiddle with and have that drag brake where you can release it on an incline and coast down, and on the next incline, you want to hold there, well, you put it back up and you hold there. So it's a pretty cool feature, but this one doesn't have it. Again, the Mamba X does. So there we go. I think that'll do it for today. If you do have any more questions about the operation of the ESC, the features of the ESC, or anything else, such as where do babies come from, ask them down below and I'll do my best to get to it. As always, thanks for tuning in and have a good day.